Welcome back to Foeonthefights, y'all. I know it's been a while. Yes, I'm still alive. Barely by a thread, but I'm here. And we're going to just get right back into it. It's a good time to be a UFC fan, MMA fan. We got Bellator tomorrow. We got UFC Fight Night, Derek Lewis versus Spivac. And it's going to be a good card, I have a feeling. Even though I'm not super familiar with most of the fighters on the card. We're going to go over them. We got, anyway, lots of stuff. Gilbert Burns versus Masvidal has been booked. We got Islam versus Volk coming up. Man, that's going to be a good one. I'm rooting for Volkanovski, but I'm probably like 70% towards Islam, 30% Volk. So time will tell. We're going to see UFC Perth, Australia. It's going down, baby. It's going down. Somebody's going to be one. So there's going to be a winner because there just can't be a draw in that fight. Just can't be. With Islam's pressure, his grappling, and Volk's tenacity, his survivability, striking, his speed, his movement, his footwork. Ooh, it's going to be good. And Volk's got a fire under him. It is interesting because we're seeing Volk move up to 155. He's not used to the weight class, even though he used to be a 200 plus pound man when he played rugby league. It's lots of questions about Volkanovski at lightweight. He's a small guy, but boy is he solid. He's dense, compact, and he's hard to take down, he says. Sorry, I can't do that good of a Aussie accent. I always get more Irish. But Volk seems like he's got something to prove. It seems like he thinks Islam is overlooking him. Seems like Islam thinks he's just some tiny guy who's gonna walk right over, and Volk's like, he's like, nah, buddy, you're gonna be. If you think that's what's gonna happen, you're gonna be in for a rough night, or should I say morning. If I'm not mistaken, ESPN has it 8 a.m., which is awesome. I'm such a big fan of the morning cards, guys, because I hate being up till 1 a.m. to watch the last fight. You're the most tired that you're gonna be at the most anticipated fight that there's gonna be. So it's like, doesn't really work. I love a 12 p.m. a noon prelims time start, and then the main card around 4 or 5. Perfect. Even when the main card starts at 6 and like the last fights around 9 and 10, that's perfect as well. But I'll find a way because I gotta watch it all. But there is some conflict tomorrow night. Bellator is going head to head with UFC. What the fuck are you guys thinking? The fans lose because I'm not gonna lie, I haven't watched Bellator in years, but I'm just so hungry for MMA that I'm gonna start now. Whenever there's not a UFC card, I'm gonna watch Bellator, or if Bellator is on a day that's not the same as UFC, I'm gonna start tuning in or trying to. And they're going head to head with UFC. I think they're doing a pay-per-view with Fedor Emelianenko versus Ryan Bader. I thought Fedor retired. I guess not. It's just bad, man. It's so bad. Like, Ryan Bader is your champion, and Fedor, who should be retired, that fight he had with, who was that one fight? With Rampage? He beat Rampage. Looked terrible, though, both of them. Like, this is supposed to be professional. I mean, other than Fedor and Ryan Bader, I don't really know anyone in Bellator. But that might change in the future. Excuse me. Stay tuned for Foeonthefights, because I'm going to start watching PFL and ONE. Because I just love MMA. I love the fights. It gets my blood pumping, my juices flowing. I'm a drug addict, guys. I've been sober for 5 years now. And Yeah, it's just, it gives me that rush. UFC does. I don't. If you watch Foeonthefights as well, I do lots of movie reviews. I've been off for like a month or two, guys, but I haven't stopped watching movies, so I got plenty of reviews to pump out this week. Next week coming up, I'm going to start dropping them. So if you guys want to check out any movies that are coming up, check out Foeonthefights and see my reviews. But anyways, we're staying on UFC. Prime is the new official sports drink for the UFC. Mind you, Monster is the official energy drink, so that was a shocker, to be honest. Logan Paul, I think that's his drink. I'm not sure. KSI, one of them. If it is Logan Paul, I think that was a strategic move by Dana White to try to get on the good side with Jake Paul, because Jake Paul is famous for ragging on Dana White, rightfully so. Dana is a piece of shit, man. He's a rich motherfucker, and he acts like a piece of shit. If you're worth $500 million or worth $1 billion, you shouldn't be set off. Your temper shouldn't snap at any criticism. The guy is like, when media asks him questions, he's like staring at him like he's like looking through their fucking souls. Like, go ahead and ask me something stupid so I can fucking turn red and rage at you guys. Now, obviously, if you're not living under a rock, you know Dana White smacked the shit out of his wife. It's like, he barely hit her, let's be honest. It was more of a retaliatory slap. Like, just because she slapped him, he's like, alright, I gotta get you back now. And he didn't even wind up. He just comes up like this. And oh god, the timing. How bad was that? Right when the Power Slap League's about to launch, Dana White slaps his wife in the fucking face, and TMZ's just right there to get it on tape. Conveniently, that's the word I was looking for. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe Dana White with the Prime drink, he's trying to be like, I'm friends with Logan Paul, so Jake, stop fucking outing me for all of my wrongdoings and pointing out my fucking mob-like business runnings and this whole Power Slap thing. We got to talk about that too. Power Slap is ridiculous. Will I watch it? Probably not. I might tune into some highlights just to see some people gonna get knocked out, but it isn't classy. It's in poor taste. And all the money and effort put into this fucking show should definitely, I've seen in comments people say, should have been spent on the fighters in the UFC. I can't agree more with that. Like, God, how much money is enough money? You know? Fuck. But yeah, guys, lots of stuff going on in the news. Francis Ngannou released. Couldn't come to a deal. I hate to see that because Francis was my favorite heavyweight. I mean, and they just don't wait, guys, do they? It's like the day after his release. The day of his release, Gon Jones for the belt, for the vacant belt. And I mean, they're lucky Jones is coming back, because they would have took a big hit from Francis leaving. I think they're still gonna take a hit because everybody knows Francis is the baddest motherfucker on the planet, and he just beat the guy who's fighting for the belt. Is Ciryl Gane a great fighter? Yes. He's undefeated besides that loss to Francis. And I've watched every single fight of his when he came to the UFC. He's just been beating guys like very, very easily. And he's been improving. I think I read or heard he just started kickboxing, and shortly after was like, I'm just going to move to MMA. And he's an awesome fighter. He's great. He's a cool, chill, humble Frenchman. But Francis is a champion. Francis and John Jones was the fight everybody wanted to see. And as much as they want to try to say this is the better fight for John, this is the harder fight for John, it's just not true. And it makes me wonder, is Francis, is he like, did he do it out of spite just to get back at Dana in some kind of way? Or is he truly like think he can get more money than what they offered him? Because I heard they offered him big money for the Jones fight. And if he were to beat John, imagine the money he would get. But he wants freedom, and you can't blame Francis. He wants freedom. He wants to be treated fair. He feels like he should be given sponsors. He should be given health insurance, which is crazy that's brought up, because I always assumed that fighters had health insurance. Like if they got injured in camp or something like that leading up to a fight, I thought UFC covered it. But I guess that means if they get hurt outside of camp or something, they're pretty much on their own, which for someone like Francis, that shouldn't be an issue with the money he's made. But still, it's a tough one, guys, and it's hard to see and predict where Francis is going to end up. Would I like to see him fight Tyson Fury? Sure, I'd like to see it, but just so Francis can get paid. It's not like anybody thinks Francis has a real shot there. I mean, he's just another Deontay Wilder, but with less boxing prowess. Would I be rooting for Francis? Of course. Even though I'm not huge on boxing, but I am a huge fan of Tyson Fury. I love the guy, the Gypsy King, you dosser. But it would be an incredible story if he could beat Tyson and get paid over $20 million and just, laugh at the UFC and say, you thought I needed you? Ha 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 ha. Look at me now, motherfuckers. And shit, even if he beat Tyson and then re-signed with the UFC and beat Jones, say Jones wins the title, say, this is a crazy future, but crazier things have happened. Say Francis beats Tyson Fury, or even loses Tyson Fury, but shows a good accounting, and then he comes back after Jones is the champ, and he takes the belt off John Jones to become the baddest man on the planet. That would be amazing. And they're talking about smaller gloves with the boxing fight with Francis and Tyson. I just don't know. I think the world wants to see the Usyk fight in the boxing world. I don't think the boxing fans have much desire to see Francis versus Tyson. But yeah, moving on from Francis, what's going on? I want to stick with the UFC, but I have to mention Jake Paul versus Tommy Fury's coming up. And I've been a hater of Jake Paul for up until he beat Anderson. I didn't even watch the Anderson fight. I still haven't watched it. I want to find it on YouTube after this. Sometime today I'll probably watch it just to see if he's really improved from the Tyron Woodley fight. I was so mad that Tyron got flatlined because Tyron was not fighting. He was hugging. He was clenching. And I felt like he was the better fighter and the more experienced guy. And all he had to do was have more dog in him and he could have won that fight. But he got flatlined and embarrassed in front of everyone, the whole fucking world. So that was rough for Tyron Woodley. His failed rap career, his failed boxing career. Who knows what he's going to do next. I think he should go back to MMA, maybe Bellator, maybe Gamebred's fighting championship, or Eagle FC, something like that. maybe come back and fight. Fuck, who was I just talking about? Oh my god, I just lost my entire train of thought. Oh, Tyron Woodley, come back and fight Kevin Lee or something, and PFL or something. I don't know, or one or Bellator. Yeah, I'd like to see Kevin Lee versus Tyron Woodley. That'd be a good fight. Not a great fight. It'd be just as exciting as Diego Sanchez. Maybe a little more because Tyron's got some power. But I think Tyron's done. I think he proved in that fight with Jake Paul that he just doesn't have the fight in him anymore. Doesn't have the dog. Doesn't have the desire to bite down, to take risks. He took risks against Vicente Luque. That was, you have to tip your hat to him for that. But he got finished. You know, it showed why he'd been so hesitant, because he was scared of that happening. And as soon as he took a risk, it backfired. So it makes you think maybe that's why Tyron's been so shy, gun shy, because he knew he was worried about this happening. And as soon as he bit down and did what the fans wanted him and actually tried to sling and bang, it backfired on him, and Vicente just fucking demolished him. But yeah, oh my god, I just got so much to talk about. I've been gone for a while, but there's so much going on in the UFC, in the fight sports world. So we touched Power Slap, garbage. Oh, I can't believe I'm the biggest fan of Michael Bisping. I've been on Believe You Me twice as a fan question. Michael Bisping lit me on fire with the dumbest question ever asked on the show. And I won't lie, I was pretty bummed out for that day, for like a day or two, because finally saw my face on the podcast, and it wasn't good. It was a bad question. I had nervous energy. I was like, seemed like a drug addict, like I was on Adderall or Coke, because I was just rushing. I was speaking so fast because I thought I could only get the question done under a minute. I don't know why. But yeah, check that out. I was on not the last Cheeto Vera episode, but the one before that I was on. And then I was on another one, and my question barely got any time. They just blew over me. But still a fan of the show. Big fan of Anthony Smith. And Robert Whittaker is my favorite middleweight. He was just on today. But Bisping is commentating Power Slap. How much money is enough money? I gotta say it. We all know Bisping's a company man, a UFC shill, but he's definitely proved it now. If there's any doubt, there's no more doubt. He is, it's just sad. He should be above that, bottom line. And then you got Anthony Smith coming out on his Sirius XM show saying how he loves Power Slap. He'll prepay the next 10 pay-per-views because it's so entertaining, and this and that and this and that. Nate Diaz has come out and said, Anthony Smith, you're a dumb fuck. Gotta love Nate Diaz. But yeah, I agree with Nate on that one. I like Anthony, but he just shilled it up with that. Who believes him? Nobody. It's just a fucking mess, man. But let's get into this card. Since we touched on what's going on in the MMA world, let's go over this card. I'm not familiar with a lot of the fighters on here, so I'm not going to do predictions. I'm going to do predictions on the fighters I know, but I'm just going to touch over. We got Tatsuro Taira versus Jesus Aguilar. Tatsu Taira's undefeated, 12-0. Aguilar is 8-1. Then we got Park Jun Young. This is a very Asian-heavy card for some reason, which is cool. It's good to see the Asians get some shine. Park Jun Young it's Jun Young Park versus Dennis Tialulin. I'm not familiar with Dennis. Park, he's a scrapper, man. He's not scared to take risks, that's for sure. And he can stand. He's gonna stand his ground and bang. So that should be a good one. Second fight in, I believe. Then we got Ji Young Kim versus Mandy Bohm. Ji Young Kim, I'm not too familiar with her. But yeah, we got that one. Then we got Choi Sang-guk versus Park Hyung-sung, or Hyung-sung Park. Not familiar with them. But I'm looking forward to seeing all these new fighters. Toshiomi Kazama, that's a Japanese guy, I believe, versus Rinya Nakamura, 6-0. Not much experience. When is it ever? 2 6-0 guys on here. When do you ever see 6-0 guys on UFC? That's a first. At least I think it is. Then you got Jiyoung Lee versus Yi Za. Yi Za is 21-3. Yeah, all these fighters, man. 6-1, 7-0, 9-6, 7-2, 12-0, 8-1. Yeah, not many fights, not much experience on here. But Yi Za, 21-3. That should be an interesting fight. And then you got the prelim, what they call it? I don't know, the main event on the prelims. Jeka Zarig versus Anshul Jubli, 6-0, 13-2. I don't know any of these guys. Then we got the main card, Yusaka Kinoshita versus Adam Fuggett. Just Fug it up. I think I've seen Adam Fuggett fight once, but I'm not too familiar with those guys. So, Choi Do Ho versus Kyle Nelson next. 14-4 Choi Do Ho, 13-5 Kyle Nelson. Here we go. Some heavyweights. Marcin Tybura versus Blagoy Ivanov. This should be a good fight. These guys are very well matched, in my opinion. 23-7 Tybura. Blagoy 19-4. I think Blagoy's the Iranian. He's got the big scar in his chest where he got stabbed in the fucking heart, pretty much. He's a badass. Both these guys are solid guys. Not super tall heavyweights, I don't think, but both of them very, very dense. So that should be a good clash. And then we have Jung Da-un versus Devin Clark, Brown Bear. Devin Clark, he's like a hit and miss kind of guy. He'll have a good performance and then he'll lose badly. So I think it all just depends on how he shows up. I remember the one, it might be his last fight, his teeth were falling out and his dad was like, "Come on, Devin! Come on, Devin!" You can always know when Devin's fighting because his dad's in his corner screaming, and especially in the Apex, you can hear him very good. And I think this might be in the Apex. Yeah, Vegas. Yeah, this is Apex. So yeah, you'll definitely hear Brown Bear's dad in the corner. And then we got the main event, Derek Lewis versus Sergey Spivak. This is the only one I'm going to do predictions on. I think Derek Lewis is coming in with a vengeance here. He's on a 2-fight loss streak. Before that, he knocked out Chris Dawkins, the Philly police officer. But yeah, Derek is, I think he's coming in with some venom. We were supposed to see this fight about a month ago, a couple weeks ago. Derek got COVID and foul at the card like the day before, I believe it was. Yeah, Sergey, he's pretty good. He's only 15-3. I saw his stats on the War Room, Dan Hardy breakdown. 0 knockdowns for Sergey. And Derek Lewis, the knockout king. It's interesting because if Sergey can get Derek down, his chances go very, very skyrocket. But if it stays on the feet, or if Derek can even avoid a takedown, defend a takedown, or even get back up from a takedown, it's gonna be interesting. Because Derek, he's got that fucking atomic power in that right hand. And I think he's coming in with a vengeance. I think he wants to shut up all the doubters. DC has high cholesterol, he said. You gotta love Derek Lewis, man. He's the greatest, one of the greatest personalities in the sport, in the UFC promotion, in the whole MMA. His balls are hot, and he's coming to slang and bang. You know how he does. And I'm going with Derek Lewis, the Black Beast. I'd love to see him get the win. I think he gets the win. Excuse me. I gotta quit these damn nicotine things. And that's gonna wrap up the card, guys. That was Foeonthefights. I don't want to go on too long. We're already almost at 30 minutes. That's a bit long for the usual, but I've been gone for a while, so if you miss me, if you want me to stay consistent with the UFC cards, let me know in the comments below. Give me a like, give me a subscribe, or don't. It's all up to you. I don't like telling people what to do. Definitely never works when people tell me to subscribe. I usually don't. If they tell me to, I'm like, fuck you, don't tell me what to do. I'll subscribe if I want to. So yeah, I'll leave it all up to you, and enjoy the fights. That's the main thing. Enjoy the carnage. And I'm Foeonthefights, and I'm out.